Hello. Welcome to Gemini season forecast. I'm Rosie. I'm a professional intuitive astrologer. I'm also a psychic. I have a lot of Scorpio in me, and I love talking about all these things because my Mercury's in Scorpio. This month or this season tends to be a little destabilizing. And as a Gemini rising myself, I definitely feel the need to ground and really take care of my nervous system and making sure that the excitement of the beginning of summer is met with the balance of coming back to myself and taking care of myself. So I hope with this forecast, you gain awareness of the transits and are able to apply them in your own chart. Today, I'll be going over the main transits for Gemini season and kind of what to expect when those types of transits are happening, as well as giving three different chart examples. I am really excited to be gifting slash giving three different rising signs, a really good idea of how these transits are taking place. And so if you have, I believe, Leo rising, Cancer rising, or Gemini rising, you'll probably find this video especially helpful. But let's get right into it. So starting off strong, the sun is in Gemini from May 20th to June 21st. We're about 5 days a week into Gemini season, so you might have already felt what it feels like to experience Gemini season, especially with the element of Uranus now present for all of us collectively, because Uranus transited into Gemini about a month ago. And so we had a Taurus season clear and clean of Uranus, and now we're experiencing a Gemini season with Uranus. It's a lot of energy. So, a few things that are pretty common for Gemini season. Gemini rules the hands anatomically, but in the chart, it rules speaking, it rules communities, friends, social activities, learning, and sometimes short-term travel. So if you have any of those popping up, for example, I'm a Gemini rising and I'm going to San Diego in a matter of days, thank God, to see the ocean with my daughter. So very on brand for me. Curious if this lands for you. The upside of Gemini season is that you get to explore these curiosities and be really open-minded and just kind of like go with whatever catches your eye. But the downside to this, by the end of Gemini season, we sometimes feel a little scattered and pulled in all directions. So, not necessarily a bad thing. It's a great time for growth and just pursuing a lot of different things, especially like in your community. But just keep that in mind. So, getting into the transits, this already happened. And the reason why I like to do these a little in retrospect is like I want you to feel into the energy. I want to feel into the energy. I don't want to just be saying things and not have it embodied. That might be a little different than what you may have learned about astrology, but from my own school of thought and from my own teaching, that's how I roll. So take this as you will. So, May 20th to the 22nd, we had the Sun conjunct Uranus, and I'm not sure if you felt this, but basically, this was like a change up, like a big supercharged change up in the Gemini ruled house of your chart. For me, Gemini rising, lots are changing. Like, I put up this door. um, First house also has to do with environment. So, like, I painted my hallway. So, I actually have a private talking space to talk with you all. Thank God. So, I can do these more often. But yeah, it's just basically like a lot of change, supercharged innovation, quantum leaps. That's kind of the vibe. So, if you felt like a little frazzled and like a lot was going on during May 20th to 22nd in the Gemini ruled house of your chart, that could be why. We also have this interesting juxtaposition of Mars and Taurus for the entirety of Gemini season, all the way into June. And so Mars and Taurus really wants to pump the brakes and slow down. Taurus is an earth sign, and with Mars there, that fiery Mars, the action we want to be taking is more sensual and like more slow and more sustainability based, as opposed to when we had Mars and Aries and we were just impulsive as fuck. So that's a little fun thing. Um, we also had, this is just very recently, I'm recording this on May 27th, and we just very recently had a Mars square Pluto aspect. And those aren't ever like super fun because Mars and Pluto, both rulers of Scorpio, might I add, Mars, planet of like war and like aggression and anger and like action, meeting up with or squaring off to Pluto, the planet of like rebirth, death, transformation, can kind of bring up some feelings. So, yeah, a few days ago, May 25th, May 26th, like think back, like were you trying to control a little bit too much of a situation? Were you like too invested and had to kind of like pull back a little bit? It could have been a time you could have chosen flexibility and had that really work out for you. So just keeping that in mind. Now getting into transits that are going to happen. So Venus in Cancer will square Saturn in Aries on May 28th, tomorrow, if you're watching this relatively soon. So whenever there's like a Venus Saturn conjunction, or because we're talking square, it's talking about how we can like grow in our relationships, and even in like our worth or money or things that give us joy, Venus. And we're comparing that to the long game, Saturn. So with this square, there's a lot of growth happening for you to examine the areas in your life, looking at Cancer and Aries, those houses in particular, about like what choices can you be making long term. For me especially, and I'll get into this in the examples, I'm a Gemini rising, so Cancer rules my second house and Aries rules my 11th house. And so 11th house has to do with like community, like social things, like it can be about the future. Second house is about money, honey. It's about entrepreneurial spirit. And so, like, here I am talking about what I'm doing. And that's like a perfect example of like, I'm still committed to this thing I'm offering the world. And there's just so many ways you can draw connections with your own life. And that's just one example. But we'll kind of get into specifics at the end of this video with some real life examples. So we have that Venus square Saturn. You might be reflecting on like long-term relationships and like whether or not they feel nurturing or not to you. Also long-term spending habits. So it could be a really good time to look at your budget and just feel into like if it's feeling good for you and if you can notice anything that you can change and shift. This Sunday, we have a full moon in Sagittarius. That will be May 31st, happening at degree 9. So, for those of you with Sagittarius placements around degree 9 or just Sagittarius in general, or if you have the mutable sign placements like Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, and Sagittarius, especially around degree 9, this will be felt more so. And I'm actually teaching, co-teaching this really cool event with some girls this Saturday. It's like yoga, sound bath, and astrology. And we're doing it around this once in a blue moon Sagittarius. And the things I've been telling my, I want to say coworkers, like co-creators, is that this full moon, because it's ruled by Sagittarius and because the ruler of Sagittarius is in Cancer, we are going to be really examining like the archer. We're pulling back to see where we really want to shoot our intention, our focus, like where do we want to go from here? But it's also like with this air of what's nurturing or like what feels nostalgic or just like attending to those like inner like home base feelings that you need. For me especially, I live with my partner and he has a very similar chart to me, and we both have Sagittarius in our seventh house. And so themes around relationship and how we are living, and how we want to like build our home together are personally how I feel this transit is showing up for me. But once again, it hasn't happened. We'll see how it actually plays out because like astrology isn't necessarily predictive, but it does give you the forecast of energy of what will be happening so you can make more empowered and more aligned decisions, if that makes sense. So, other themes to do with this full moon that have to do with Sagittarius would be learning or teaching on subjects like different cultures or, hi, astrology, like perfect timing for me to do event, right? Or other like spiritual practices. You could also be like writing or teaching about something in depth, like long form content, if that makes sense. So if that or any of those are in your realm or wheelhouse, I would just definitely pay attention to that, as well as like any placements or aspects being made to the Sagittarius ruled house in your chart. Also looking to Jupiter and where your natal Jupiter is, because that can also give like another edge to it. And we'll go over that in examples. So we've got the full moon. It's also cool because this full moon is trine Saturn in Aries. So once again, there's this element of longevity and like long-term stability at play. And the work that you do around this full moon of like whatever you're releasing or like aiming for will feel worth it, especially if you're like thinking, where do I want to be a year from now? Like, don't just think, oh, like where do I want to be next month? No, think big. Sagittarius is think big, open your mind, like dream big, like release big. Full moons are for release, but you can still dream big on a release. So after the full moon, we have Mercury moving into Cancer on June 1st. Side note, Mercury will be going into a retrograde, not in Gemini season, but at the end of June on the 29th. And Mercury will stay in Cancer till August 9th. So this area of your chart, Cancer, like really be paying attention there. There'll be changes. There'll be like just a lot of thinking and like maybe communication around this area in your life. We'll get into examples. But yeah, just like a lot of thoughts, a lot of communication. Like I said, like I'm kind of be doing a lot of home projects and planning them out with my partner and just kind of like organizing our home life and how we want to like move forward in our partnership in our shared cohabitation space, if you will. A few other themes to do with Cancer would be like family, home, personal past, or nostalgia. So, like for me, this whole year with Jupiter in Cancer, I don't know about you, like let me know how Jupiter in Cancer has felt for you. But I have like just reflected on how much time I spent at my like grandma's house or like going through like old things with my parents and like seeing like my mom. This is a funny thing. If my mom's watching this, hi mom. But my mom on Mother's Day gave me a box of my baby teeth. So yeah, like nostalgia, like she kept all my baby teeth. She's also a Scorpio moon, so she knows ball. But anyways, that's kind of the vibe for Mercury and Cancer. So just like expect to be thinking about the Cancer ruled house of your chart a lot. Getting into more mid-June, we have on June 9th, Venus and Jupiter going conjunct or like this together in the sky in Cancer. I told you Cancer is important, right? So this is like with Venus, you're always going to be looking at like money, relationships, pleasure. Yeah. So those themes will also be very important this season. So with Venus and Jupiter, I actually have these conjunct in my natal chart. So this is kind of like my vibe always, if that makes sense. Because transits are like what's happening for everybody and like it's kind of all changing, but your natal chart is your natal chart and it doesn't change. So with Venus and Jupiter conjunct collectively in these transits happening for all of us, this is a great time to be really thinking about your relationships, your creative energy, optimism, your generosity. And because Jupiter will be ending its time in Cancer shortly after this conjunction, it's a great time, like I said, to be reflecting on how Jupiter felt in Cancer for you. For me, Gemini rising, Cancer second house, Jupiter in second house, I've had to spend a lot of money on my house this year. I have an AC that needs repairing. I have mold in my walls. Like, LOL, because Cancer is also a water sign and like Jupiter just increases water, right? So just exploring how like Jupiter expands. So, it could also, for another Gemini rising, Jupiter in the second house could have meant that they're really pouring into their entrepreneurial pursuits, like which I have also been doing, but it's not been as intense as I thought that would be for me. You could also see like people purchasing a home. That would be a very good example for Jupiter and Cancer example. You could also be caring for another person because Cancer is like the archetype of mother or like the nurturer, the carer. And lots of themes having to do with home and nostalgia. So yeah, I want to hear stories of nostalgia. Like what did Jupiter and Cancer bring up for you? Very curious. Let me know. June 13th, we have Venus moving into Leo, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited because yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited. So Venus and Leo until July 9th. So Leo is all about your inner child. It's all about like your hobbies, like the things you do for fun that just like you don't care if anyone cares about it. They're just for you. So that's definitely the vibe. And I feel like that's just such a good summer vibe. Yeah, I'm really excited for that personally. You can also like play with your like avatar, your character, and like how you dress up. I'm gonna pull her out. So this is my inner child picture. You can see this is me as a little girl doing some vanity work. Little witch. Little witch. But yeah, I'm just like at my grandma's vanity table and I was doing all the makeup and I just keep that with me to like remind myself that that's how I play too. So look out for that. One thing to look out for though, with this Venus moving into Leo and any planet or luminary going into Leo, is that they're all going to be opposing Pluto because Pluto's in Aquarius. And Aquarius and Leo are sister signs, so they're opposing each other, and you might come into some power struggles with your love life, with money around June 17th, because that opposition goes exact June 17th between Venus and Pluto. So if you feel like the need to like control relationships, I would just like check those obsessing thoughts for sure. Coming into the new moon in Gemini on June 14th. This is happening at 24 degrees Gemini. Gemini risings, hi, looking at you. Check your rising sign degree. For me, this is nearly conjunct my rising sign. Same with my boyfriend. Same with a lot of friends I have in my private broadcast channel. So yeah, definitely check the degrees. If you don't know how to do that, definitely like leave me a comment. I also have instructions on how to do that in a lot of my posts, but always open for questions because you know I love to chat astrology. So, because this new moon is in Gemini, that makes the ruler of it Mercury, because Mercury is the natural ruler of Gemini. So, yes, we're looking at Gemini in your chart, but we're also looking at where Mercury is. And guess where it is? Cancer. I told you it was important. So, yes, Mercury will be in Cancer at the time of this new moon. And the interesting thing to note as well, with these lunations during Gemini season, both the Sagittarius full moon we're experiencing on Sunday and the new moon we'll be experiencing on the 14th, they both have their ruler in Cancer. For Sagittarius, it was Jupiter. For this new moon, it's Mercury. Okay, so once again, this Cancer ruled house for you will be very important the next little bit. So just pay attention, see what happens. And you might even see, like, I have this feeling like you might even see, like, very clearly how what you released from that full moon comes full circle into a new beginning come the time of the Gemini new moon. But just clock it, see what you notice, feel it, feel into it. Um, Yes. Okay, last kind of thing, and then we'll get into chart examples. So, Chiron. I have a whole post about Chiron if this perks your ears. Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron is the asteroid that basically points to where our most intense wounding is, and also our potential for like how much we can help people through what we've learned about our wounding. So, Chiron loves to hang out in Aries, and it's been there since 2019. And it's moving into Taurus, y'all, but only for a little bit, and then it will go back into Aries and retrograde, and then it will finally come into Taurus again for a while. So, Chiron and Taurus, that will happen June 19th. Happy Juneteenth, y'all. Well, not happy, but I recognize that. Yeah, like I said, Chiron's been in Aries since 2019. So just reflect on the healing that you have done in that Aries ruled house of your chart and just see like if you can feel a shift on what you are starting to focus on. For me, Gemini rising, 11th house would be Aries for me. That's like friends, social media. I have really changed a lot about what I choose to share and how I show up on the internet and like how I choose to engage with communities that I'm a part of. And so, yeah, I've obviously experienced a lot of healing. I did this amazing heels dancing class for just building confidence. And that was just so Aries coded to me. Like, having a community that's very like sports based or like activity based for me was like huge. And now I feel myself like kind of shifting out of those realms and like integrating it into my own daily life where I'm just dancing in the kitchen. I digress. But with Taurus, that will be my 12th house. So, like having Chiron going to my 12th house, I also have a whole post on my Substack about the 12th house and kind of like the challenges that can naturally be there if you're not aware of that house is like very specific needs. Like you need to have a spiritual outlet, you need to have a creative outlet. So I think for me, I'm really excited because I've done a lot of healing work and like this Chiron dipping into Taurus until September 17th will be like a really good preview for me to see what is coming up there. And then when that retrograde of Chiron ends April 14th of 2027, then Chiron's like fully into Taurus until 2033. I will be writing all of my notes down just so you can kind of see this paraphrased, just depending on how you learn. Sometimes y'all listeners, sometimes y'all are readers. I don't know. Let me know what helps as well because I definitely try to like make this as friendly and comprehensible as possible, but it's a lot. So just be gentle and take whatever resonates, leave the rest. With that, let's get into some examples because that's how I learn best. Okay. So we're going to go look at anonymous chart 1. Look at all my screenshots for this workshop I have going on. LOL. Okay. So just acquainting myself with the chart. So this person, hi. Hi, you know who you are if you're watching this. You know your chart. They found me through a sisterhood group because of my 12th house kind of explanation. They were just like really resonating with like what I shared about the 12th house. So if you have a chart similar to this in some ways, like I would just recommend checking out some of my work. I'll try and post that below as well. First things first, let's just orient to their chart. So they are a Leo rising. So if you are a Leo rising, these like generalized, this is like, I'm not going to get specific here. That's what I get paid to do. So if you want to book a reading with me, I do offer 30-minute recorded sessions through the summer. I'm a mom. That's my priority. But whenever I can do readings, like I absolutely love to do that. So if something like pings for you and you want like a little transit checkup, I will provide the link for my 30-minute recorded sessions I'm offering this summer. Getting into it though. She's a Leo rising, Cancer sun in the 12th house, and then she's a Taurus moon. So this is a literally such a great example. I like pulled all these up and I was like, this is perfect. So for her, let's just kind of talk about the transits that are happening for her. So she has her sun in the 11th house. Like she also has a lot of Venus, Mars, and the power of fortune in her 11th house. So she could be like feeling like super social this time because this is like social group house, like also maybe future planning. Like maybe she's making like fun trip plans with friends, or maybe she's like trying to meet in community more. Like, she's a part of my community and another friend's community, and she's been like communicating with me more, which is really exciting. So just a lot of communication-based things. She'll want to look for like the exact times this sun is going over these planets. Easiest way to do this is just think like, okay, there's 15-ish days in a zodiacal season. And so like that's like halfway to Cancer season. I don't know. Just like break it down how you need to. If you have questions, you can let me know. I will say because Mercury will be going over her Mars, just watch your thoughts. Like be gentle to yourself. Like make sure you're not like, I don't think this person would do this, but like make sure you're not like posting things like really impulsively on the internet. This would be like make sure you're just like very aware of what you're sharing this time because Mars is at play. Sometimes that can like cause kerfuffles when like you just had to like process that yourself. It also could be like a really good time to like be writing and stuff for her just because she has natural Gemini placements. Also like Midnight Sun is coming to mind, Zara Larson. I don't know if she's heard this song, but you should play that song and dance. Anyways, getting into like Jupiter in Cancer, the way this transit probably felt for her was a lot of mental health stuff. And she has expressed that to me. But it like probably brought up a lot of shadows because 12th house is all about like shadows and what's hidden. It's the darkest part of our chart before the rising sun of our ascendant. And so, yeah, but like her sun and Mercury are there. Like she's, by the way, that's very psychic right here. Sun and Mercury, yes. Yes. Very, yeah. But it could come out. I'm not getting into details. But Yeah, so this Jupiter, like going over her sun too, like it's like just magnifying her personality and her like persona and like part of what her soul wants to be here for. And so I'm really curious to like hear from her after she sees this, like how she's felt that she could offer these deep insights she has. She has like a lot of knowledge about 12th house realm, like the unseen, especially how to nurture people in it. So I'm very curious to hear how that resonates for her. But because Venus is here, she could be like loving alone time. She could be like loving, kind of like removing herself and like taking time to like nurture herself and nurture her spirit in whatever form that she enjoys. That could be meditation, whatever spiritual practice, art of some kind, water play of some kind because it's a water sign. So that's kind of like what's going on there for her. Popping up to that Mars transit in Taurus. Let me sip some water. So she'll probably be feeling really motivated in her career. It could even be like I don't know if she's going through a career change because, with that sun conjunct Uranus, I don't know, like because those are two dancing together, it could indicate a change, but she'll definitely be experiencing a lot of like more action at work. I know she does client work, and so she could just be like really busy for summer. Another thing for her to note is when this Mars gets closer to her natal moon, that's going to bring up some feelings, lots of feelings, and like yeah, I would just say like make sure she stays like cozy. Like Taurus moons, like they just want to be comfortable. They want to be surrounded by beauty. They want to feel really grounded and like they do slow change. So I would just recommend to her that even though you feel like maybe everything has to happen right now, like just take a beat and like of course take action for sure in your career or public facing realms. I would say definitely like ride that energy high, but also like do it slowly and sustainably and just chip away at it. Let's see what else I see. Um, okay, that one feels complete. Let's go to the next one. So this is anonymous chart too. This person is a Cancer rising. It's so funny because like I forgot who each person was, and now looking at their chart, like I remember who it is. So cool. So she's a Cancer rising. She has a beautiful Libra moon, and then she has her sun in Capricorn, so she's still a baddie. And let's turn on the transits, and I'll show you kind of what's going on. So kind of sticking with the theme of 12th house, immediately I was drawn to the sun in her 12th house. Yeah, definitely like a time to like be reflecting. Like I know this person's been like journaling and walking a lot. That's great. I would say like journaling and walking, if you are a Cancer rising at this time, could be like really great ways to deal with the mental and spiritual aspects that are coming in. Like even like doing journaling shadow work could be really good. Mercury is there too. So while Mercury is there, just like journaling all of that and just like writing, writing, writing. I feel like this could be so resonant for her. But yeah, and also like with Venus in her first house could be a great time to just be like nurturing the fuck out of her body. Whenever there's like Venus going through the first house, aspects can obviously change this and create nuance, but in general, with Venus going through the first house, there's a lot of emphasis on like shopping or like so she better be like a little bit cautious with that Venus and Jupiter conjunction, or maybe she plans a shopping trip around it. Um, just like big investments in self. For example, when Venus was in Gemini and I'm a Gemini rising, I invested in like something I've wanted to do for my body for a while. And it's gonna take a long time. Like, okay, I'm getting the liner thingies, but like that's an example, right? And so just kind of question like are there things I want to do to my physical appearance and like how I come off to people, like the things you can see. That's very much the first house theme. That could be something. It could also be like a time where she's getting like more attention. Like I see that in her where I'm like, whoa, like there's things shifting and like Jupiter, wherever it is, it expands. And so sometimes with first house too, I have noticed this even with myself when Jupiter was transiting my first house, there is a tendency to like also have your either environment or your body expand too. So just making sure you're aware of that and like nurturing whatever you need in that. And that's just like a little side note I've noticed. Let's see what else. So with I feel like this could be kind of interesting. So with Venus moving into Leo, that will be aspecting her Chiron. And I know she's been doing a lot of like healing work, a lot of like Scorpio coded work. Like she's been asking me a lot about astrology, and I just like love that. So for her, I'd just say like, you know, Venus coming through your second house, like that will be a boon for you. It could be a boon towards your own personal values, like your own self-worth, or that could literally come in the form of money, especially like through healing work, like, like healing your inner child through like weird esoteric shit. That could be something that happens for her. So that's cool. What else do I want to say about this chart? Yeah, I would say like it'll be really powerful too, just because of that opposition I mentioned between Venus transiting into Leo and then having to oppose that Pluto. So just like watching because it's on the second and eighth axis, like you could be talking with your partner a little bit about money and like what you want to do. And yeah, so that could be a theme. Let's see. Let's talk about full moon for her. So, wow, this is like so literal. Like I talk with her. I'm just so curious how this like all happens for her. But the full moon will be taking place in Sagittarius. That's her sixth house. Um, and one thing about her is she just went through a career change. And so sixth house is all about like your daily work, your daily habits, the things that you just need to do to like literally live life, like laundry, eating, exercising, all those things. And she already has some planets there. Um, and I don't know if I mentioned the degree for that Sagittarius full moon, degree 9. So it won't be like aspecting these for her, but it will like magnify these planets. So yeah, she could be like just fully releasing like what that previous job was to her and like really examining like what she wants to aim for next. With that new moon in Gemini, like she's been getting into kind of like some spiritual stuff and just opening her world. Also recently took a trip like unexpectedly foreign travel, and that's also very 12th house theme. That's like another kind of side note of 12th house placements. If you have 12th house placements, sometimes you really like to travel. So, yeah, she could be like even planning more trips like that, which could be really cool. Or just taking more of that like time to reflect and like learn about things or like talk about things that she's learning. Um, that's something. And then let's see what else. That feels pretty good for now. I will say, like, just noting that Chiron, so you can see that it's at the final degree of Aries, anaretic degree. That's like a whole other conversation. Very interesting time for us all. But as that dips into Taurus, like, she's going to be healing, like, friendships or maybe how she shows up online or in like different community settings. So that will be something that she can kind of be clocking this summer as Chiron dips into Taurus. And then, like I said, there'll be that like interim period where Chiron dips back into Aries until it finally goes back into Taurus in 20 or till 2023. So yeah, just like noticing those things. But yeah, let's see. Is there anything else from this chart? That feels complete. Go into this one. So this is a Gemini rising chart. And so I just inherently get it a little bit because I study my chart so often. It's also interesting to notice once you know your own chart, like who and what signs you typically attract. I tend to attract Gemini risings because I love to talk, they love to talk. It is fantastic. Voice note girlies unite. Mercury ruled people unite. Um, but anyways, this person, let's get into it. So sun sign is in her first house. So like she's kind of focused on like herself, like how she's presenting to the world. I know she's been doing so much work on her branding. That's very first house coded as well. You will notice that she has Mars in the 12th house, like I mentioned for myself. So she could be just be like really going into like shadow work. And I know she's quite passionate about that. So she might be happy to hear that, might be like no more, but it's all about going into the depths as she has told me, and that is like the perfect transit for that. It will be very interesting when Chiron dips into that 12th house for her. I feel like for me, when I've had a lot of 12th house transits happening, it's a lot about letting go, especially like of the past. And yeah, like it can be intense. Like I'm getting a little emotional right now, actually. It can be a little intense to go through those transits, but like hang in there. Like stick with it. This is the darkest before the dawn, and like you don't get like the rebirth until you've like gone through all the muck. And so yeah, she has a lot of eighth house, so I know she knows rebirth. Um, let's get into her kind of full moon forecast, new moon stuff. So, like I said, Sagittarius full moon happening in her seventh house. So, seventh house has to do with partnership. That could mean romantic, really close friends, business partnerships, contracts. She could be like maybe letting go of some relationships, but she could also be like thinking about, right? Do you see this arrow? She could be thinking about where she wants to like shoot her arrow for like partnership and beyond. Like this person is also going to be getting married this year. And so like she could be thinking about that. I also know her partner is the same orientation. He's a Gemini rising. And so like it could be this is like my own little opinion. Like I've wanted to do like a really cool ritual with my guy, and like I've been working with Aphrodite a lot. Like I have like a whole altar set up and I've been charging these like specific rocks and items. Um I digress. That's like a whole other conversation, but if you're interested, let me know. But it could be just like a really good time to be like letting go of like maybe even like old patterns in a relationship and then seeing how those come the new moon. Um, Another thing too, because this ruler of the Sagittarius full moon is Jupiter right here. I told you Cancer is important. So she's been growing a lot in business. And with Venus there, like she'll definitely want to be careful about spending. Let me give you that date again, that conjunction. June 9th, Venus and Jupiter will be conjunct in Cancer. I would just look out for that date. And if you're feeling spendy, I would just like wait a day. I've caught myself doing this plenty of times. Or like also you could be getting money from your business too, because second house, like I've said, is an entrepreneurial house. And for those like making their own money, like this could be a good time. With Jupiter here too, like it's either like you are taking care of someone monetarily or you're being taken care of monetarily. And I have also felt that in my own life in this transit. So that is fascinating. What is fascinating to me is that she has so much in her eighth house, which is Capricorn. And anytime we have planets like opposing in sister signs, that's very powerful. And it's like this tension, but it's like the most powerful time for growth. So with Venus, like literally aspecting, dear God, literally everything that's there. And then Jupiter, like that's magnifying a lot of like that rebirth potential and like a lot of the psychological things that we hold on to that aren't necessarily very clear or like, yeah. Eighth house is like another one of those moksha houses along with the 12th and 4th that are very misunderstood and can be like just a little bit more deep. So let's see, that's happening at I don't know what degree that would be, but just to be checking on that date and just like noticing what's coming up for you. Yeah, it'll be a really good time. It'll be a really good time. It always will be. Let's see, what else do I want to bring up? Let's talk about like that Chiron going into the 12th house. All of these examples kind of were focused on like first, second, and 12th house with all these kind of transits, if you've noticed. If you have, let's say, like a Scorpio rising, these transits will be taking place in an entirely different part of your chart. So if what I've been saying doesn't feel resonant, it's probably just because it doesn't apply to your chart. But once again, just like look where Cancer is, that's a really important house for this time. Like look where Sagittarius is, Gemini, even a little bit of Taurus and Aries, and just being aware of Pluto. Those are like the main players if you have not felt to this point that you've resonated with anything. Look to your own chart um, and sit with all the things that come up. But yeah, I would just say like with that Chiron going into 12th, like maybe Mars is kind of showing this person like where she needs to take action or she's taking action on a spiritual kind of like unseen things. She could also, this is like another big thing. It doesn't have to be bad in the 12th house. She could be gardening, which I know she is an avid gardener. Like I had an astrologer mentor. I have some placements in the 12th house and including my south node. And she was like, oh my gosh, you must just be like a natural great gardener. And like people who have like their south node in the 12th house, especially with Taurus, like, wow, you must have been like a great gardener in your past life. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, okay, maybe. Like, I am good with plants, but who knows? So that could just be kind of like revealing like healing. And because Chiron's there, like she could also be, this is a big key thing with Chiron, I actually really want to share is when you're open-hearted enough to share like what is hurting you on your heart and you're able to not trauma bond, but like connect with others and help each other heal, that is the whole point of Chiron. And so for her, she's probably felt a lot of healing in community. And maybe with Chiron in the 12th house, that could mean like a lot of healing in solitude or like in meditation or like deep spiritual things. It could also mean like getting a past life regression too, and just seeing like if you could clear fears from, I know this person's probably already done these, but if you could clear fears from a past life that are affecting you now, that's like another way it could present. Yeah, I think overall, another big thing to know, I didn't talk about Uranus too much besides the Sun Uranus conjunction, but wherever Uranus is too, you'll probably see the most change. And for her and other Gemini risings, you will be experiencing the most change in your life. Probably not like out of everybody, but just like so much can change because like your whole appearance could change, your branding could change, your environment, like kind of where you live, but like where you surround yourself, like what environments you're a part of could change. So just like continuing to be aware of that. But let me stop the screen share. And there you have it. That is Gemini season forecast, kind of broken down with some explanations, some chart examples. Like I said, this summer I am taking off my one-on-one readings off the books. Those don't exist right now, but I will still be offering 30-minute recorded sessions. So you will just log on to my booking site. I'll put the link below and you just pick a time and I send it to you within 2 weeks. Just because Mama's got priorities. And you're one of them if you are on my books. But I'm really excited for Jupiter and Leo for me personally, just because I have some like fifth house placements and I'm like with my daughter a lot this summer and I'm just like really excited to just like play and enjoy and just do a lot of the simple things. So yeah, I feel like overall Gemini season is like the mad rush. Like it feels like we're all backstage, like doing things like this to get it all ready for Jupiter moving into Leo very, very soon. This will be, I think, in Cancer season that will happen. And then the nodes are also changing into Aquarius and Leo, which will be a big shift for about like a year and a half, 2 years, depending on like the exact timing. But yeah, I'm feeling good about it. Biggest recommendations for Gemini season would be finding a way to ground your nervous system. Like even before this video, I did a tapping session, an EFT tapping session for anxiety. Anxiety is very common among Mercury ruled people, Virgo risings, Gemini risings, prominent placements in those or mutable signs. And it's just really important to ground your energy at this time. There's a lot going on, as always. And so just a reminder to be incredibly gentle and compassionate with yourself, even despite everything going on, and know that you can take small bites of things and not a big chomp and still be getting to exactly where you want to be. I share this with so much love. Please let me know if you have questions. I will try my best to like link everything that I have talked about, but if I've missed something, do let me know and we'll stay in touch.